You know, in today's world, data is absolutely everything. But what if the way you're handling it is actually holding your business back? Well, today, we're going to dive deep into Elementrix, a platform that's making a big promise to turn your messy data from a huge liability into your company's most valuable product. Let's see how they pull it off. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the data chaos that, let's be honest, is probably all too familiar. Then we'll introduce Elementrix and its whole new philosophy. We're going to break down exactly how it works, what's in it for you, and look at some pretty tangible results. And finally, we'll wrap up by imagining what your data ecosystem could really look like in the future. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Enterprise Data Chaos. Yeah, that title probably hits a little too close to home for a lot of tech and business leaders out there. So, does this feel familiar? You're just drowning in data. It's everywhere, it's in a million different formats, and trying to get the right information to the right people feels, well, impossible. This complexity isn't just a headache, it's a genuine roadblock to innovation. Let's get specific about these pains. It often starts with what we call API sprawl. You know the drill. A new request comes in and boom, another custom-built point-to-point API is created. The problem is, when one of these fragile systems goes down, it sets off a domino effect, a cascading failure that can ripple across your entire business. All while your costs are going through the roof, your data is locked up in silos, and your security risks just keep piling up. It's a really tough cycle to break. Okay, so that's the problem. Now for the solution. Let's jump into Section 2, where we introduce Elementrix and a totally new way of thinking about your data. So, what exactly is Elementrix? The official description is a governed, API-centric data federation and distribution platform. Whew, that's a mouthful, right? Let's just translate that. Think of Elementrix as this really smart, really secure layer that sits between all your messy, complicated data sources on one side and all the people and apps that need to use that data on the other. It makes the whole process clean, simple, and secure. Now, the big idea at the heart of Elementrix is this: data as a product. It's a game changer. So instead of dealing with raw, messy data that needs a ton of IT help to be useful, just imagine your data sets are like beautifully packaged products on a store shelf. Each one is clearly labeled, totally secure, and ready to go. Anyone with the right permissions can just walk up, grab what they need, and start using it. This creates a real self-service data marketplace, letting your teams move so much faster. Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? Let's get into the nitty-gritty in Section 3 and see how Elementrix turns that raw data into these awesome, ready-to-use products. It's really a pretty simple three-step process. First, you organize your data into logical business domains, things like finance or marketing or operations. Second, inside those domains, you package your data into these ready-to-use data products. And third, you publish them to a central, searchable marketplace where anyone can find them. Simple as that. Let's zoom in on that first step for a second. What you're seeing here in the Elementrix interface is a project management domain. See, this isn't some abstract technical grouping. It's organized around the way your business actually thinks. That one little shift makes it incredibly easy and intuitive for people to find what they're looking for. And inside these domains, that's where you find the real stars of the show, the data products. And these aren't just raw database tables. They are curated, polished, ready-to-go assets that become the fundamental building blocks of your entire data ecosystem. Now let's peek under the hood of one of these data products. You'll see it has a crystal clear schema, or what we call a data model. Every single piece of information, ID, name, salary, you name it, is perfectly defined. This structure is what makes the data instantly understandable and, more importantly, instantly usable through one single clean API. No more guesswork, no more ambiguity, it just works. So that's the how. But now we get to the most important part, right? What's in it for you? Section 4 is all about breaking down the specific benefits for the different people who have to deal with this stuff every day. Let's get really specific. If you're an enterprise architect, this is your ticket to finally decoupling systems, which makes your entire enterprise way more agile and resilient. If you're an application manager, you're going to sleep a lot better at night knowing you can basically eliminate that API sprawl and seriously mitigate the impact of downtime. For integration architects, your world just got a whole lot simpler with consolidated, easy-to-manage APIs. And for security architects, this is a dream. You can enforce zero-trust access with complete audit trails, seriously cutting down your compliance risks. All right, let's talk proof. Section 5 is where we get into the tangible results. We're talking hard numbers on performance, resilience, and, of course, return on investment. So get this, we're talking about a 10x increase in performance. That's huge. How? Well, Elementrix uses things like smart caching and pre-computed data to take all the heavy lifting off of your core systems. And the result is just lightning-fast response times and a much, much healthier infrastructure overall. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This chart says it all. Look at that dramatic drop in average response times, before and after. We're going from over 30 milliseconds down to under 10. That's not just a little tweak. That is a total transformation of how your systems perform under pressure. And to put it another way, that translates to a 167% average improvement in transactions per second. What does that really mean? It means your systems can handle way more requests, more user activity, more business, without even breaking a sweat. This isn't just about being fast. It's about building a foundation that can actually support your future growth. So what does all this amazing performance mean for your bottom line? Well, it means things like cutting infrastructure costs by up to 50%. Thanks to that smart caching, you can pretty much eliminate costs related to downtime. You're also slashing all that overhead from constantly building and maintaining custom APIs. And all of that adds up to an incredibly fast payback period. We're talking as little as 8 months. All right, let's head into our final section, Section 6, and look at the big picture. This is about how all these pieces come together to completely reshape your data ecosystem. It really is about making that fundamental shift from treating data as a liability to treating it as a core asset. This slide really just sums up the entire transformation perfectly. You go from having siloed data and that chaotic API sprawl to a clean, central data marketplace. You go from brittle, coupled systems where one little failure can bring down the entire house of cards to a truly resilient, decoupled architecture. And maybe the most important shift of all, you go from IT being this constant bottleneck for every little data request to a world of true self-service, empowering everyone on your team to innovate. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. When you look at your own organization right now, is your data a complex liability that's just costing you time, money, and headaches? Or with this new way of thinking, could it actually become your company's next great product? Something to chew on. Thanks so much for tuning in.